The movie begins with David Rice, a teenager leading an ordinary life in a tranquil rural town, sharing a heartfelt moment with Millie, a classmate he admires. To express his feelings, David presents Millie with a snow globe, a token of his affection. However, their interaction is disrupted by Mark, a classmate who seizes the gift and tosses it onto a frozen lake. Undeterred, David attempts to retrieve the snow globe, even as Millie warns against it. Tragedy strikes as the ice gives way, plunging David into the freezing water. Despite Millie's efforts to help, David is trapped beneath the ice, carried away by the current. Suddenly, David finds himself disoriented amid a public library. Confused and in shock, he cautiously exits the library, striving to maintain composure and avoid arousing suspicion. Returning home, he faces the wrath of his father, William, who questions his tardiness. The strained relationship with his father, compounded by the absence of his mother since childhood, reaches a breaking point. In a heated confrontation, David escapes by teleporting back to the library. Realizing the potential of his newfound ability, David decides to embark on a journey to a brighter future. Armed with saved money, he makes the daring choice to move to a bustling city and forge a new path. Determined to understand and control his powers, David practices in a park, experimenting with teleportation to various tourist attractions worldwide. However, he discovers a limitation: he can only teleport to places he has visited before. In his exploration, David stumbles upon a tourist magazine featuring iconic landmarks. A poignant memory of the Empire State Building with his mother, Mary, triggers a surge of emotions. Objects in his room begin to levitate, and in an instant, David teleports to the Empire State Building. As the realization sets in, he grapples with the intricacies of his abilities, shattered dimensions opening up before him. Struggling with financial desperation, David resolves to utilize his extraordinary powers to steal from a bank. Executing a bold plan, he gains access to the bank by feigning the need to use the bathroom. During his short visit, David glimpses the interior of the heavily secured vault. Under the cover of darkness, he teleports into the vault, making multiple trips to fill his bag with ill-gotten money. The next day, an investigation into the mysterious bank robbery ensues. Roland Cox, a man claiming to work for the government, arrives on the scene. He requests all video surveillance footage and the names of individuals who entered the bank in the past month. Roland, displaying knowledge about teleportation, theorizes that the theft might have been committed by someone with this unique ability. Years later, David resides in a luxurious penthouse in downtown New York, living a life of excess and indulgence. Surrounded by pictures of global destinations, his secret room houses a collection of currencies from around the world. His newfound wealth affords him the freedom to travel and experience the world in ways unimaginable before. One day, while in a bar in London, David spots a captivating woman. Impulsively, he teleports to her side, catching the attention of another observer, Griffin. A night of romance unfolds, followed by David's journey to Fiji to surf colossal waves and lunch atop the Sphinx in Egypt. In a distant tropical jungle, another teleporter attempts to escape but becomes ensnared by a cable, trapped in electrified wires. Struggling and entangled in a tree, Roland appears, walking towards the captive teleporter, hinting at an impending confrontation. The captured teleporter, tangled in electrified wires, queries Roland about the reason for his merciless actions. Roland asserts that individuals with teleportation abilities are abominations that must be eradicated. With chilling resolve, he stabs the teleporter, ending his life. As Roland receives a phone call regarding the long-ago bank robbery, the intricate web of past and present actions begins to tighten. Returning to his opulent New York apartment, David is greeted by an unexpected presence, Roland. Claiming to be investigating the historic bank heist, Roland unveils that he is not a police officer. Ignoring David's request to leave, Roland electrocutes him with a baton. David, struggling to teleport, is thwarted by Roland's relentless assault. A fierce confrontation ensues, culminating in Roland attaching a cable to David, preventing him from teleporting far. Desperate for freedom, David teleports to a concealed room, grabs money, and reappears at his father William's house, leaving him bewildered. In a heartfelt moment, William implores David to stay, uncertain about his son's disappearance. Offering a fleeting reassurance, David vanishes again. The next day, he finds Millie working at a bar, and a brawl with former bully Mark leads to David teleporting him into a bank vault. Reconnecting with Millie, David spins a tale of a banking profession, hiding the complexity of his actions. Learning Millie's dream to travel, David invites her to Rome, met with ecstatic enthusiasm. Unseen by them, Griffin, a figure from David's past, silently watches fate unfold. In the timeless charm of Rome, David and Millie immerse themselves in the majestic allure of the Colosseum. Meanwhile, Roland, masquerading as a CIA operative, infiltrates a police station to interrogate Mark about the bank incident. Discovering Millie's presence in Rome, Roland becomes entangled in a web of secrets and connections. Later, within the confines of a Roman apartment, David and Millie share an intimate conversation, reflecting on their pasts and savoring the fleeting moments of the present. The atmosphere shifts as romance blossoms, culminating in a passionate kiss. As the day unfolds, David covertly guides Millie through the Colosseum's labyrinthine passages, their shared adventure taking an unexpected turn. In the shadows of the ancient arena, David encounters Griffin, a fellow jumper revealing the hidden reality of their kind. Griffin denounces David's hedonistic lifestyle and exposes the Paladins, a group set on eradicating teleporters. Two Paladins materialize, leading to a fierce battle. David, ensnared by an electrified cable, loses his teleportation abilities again. Griffin, an experienced warrior, effortlessly dispatches the attackers, highlighting the stakes. After warning David, Griffin teleports away. Intrigued, David follows but is cautioned to stay away. Returning to Millie, David's efforts to shield her falter as the police intervene, arresting him for breaking into the Colosseum. Within the police station, David faces questioning, maintaining innocence as a remorseful tourist. Inside the police station, David faces uncertainty as the officers depart, leaving him to await the U.S. Embassy magistrate. An unexpected visitor enters, revealing herself as Mary, David's long-lost mother. In a brief encounter, Mary imparts urgency, warning of impending danger. She slips David a key to his handcuffs and hastily departs, leaving him in pursuit but ultimately losing her elusive trail. Reuniting with Millie, David resolves to escape the escalating threats. At the airport, a solemn decision unfolds as David explains the necessity of their separation for Millie's safety. Disheartened, Millie reluctantly embarks on her solitary journey. Meanwhile, Roland, posing as an IRS agent, arrives at William's residence seeking information about David. William, guarded and uncooperative, denies any recent contact with his estranged son. He reveals the painful details of Mary's departure, leaving Roland undeterred in his relentless pursuit. In the heart of Griffin's hidden sanctuary, David confronts a wall adorned with pictures and information about paladins across the globe. Griffin, an experienced warrior against the Paladins, elucidates the ancient conflict rooted in religious fanaticism. The Paladins, viewing teleportation as a divine gift, seek to eradicate jumpers, believing such powers should be exclusive to God. Driven by concern for his father and Millie, David teleports to William's side, finding him unconscious. Rushing against time, he transports William to a hospital for urgent care. Seeking revenge on Roland, David returns to Griffin for more information. Scarred by past encounters, Griffin advises against pursuing the relentless Paladin. Realizing Millie's peril, David proposes an alliance with Griffin, who reluctantly agrees upon learning of Roland's potential whereabouts. They plan to split up, David to rescue Millie and Griffin to arm himself. Arriving at Millie's apartment, David faces an unexpected confrontation. Oblivious to the danger, Millie demands David's departure. Facing an inevitable threat, David discloses his extraordinary abilities to Millie. As the truth unfolds, Millie grapples with shock, fleeing in panic. Recognizing the danger, David teleports them to Griffin's sanctuary. Roland and the Paladins arrive at Millie's vacant apartment, discovering a residual jump scar. Determined to pursue David, they deploy a device beneath the scar, forming a portal. David, Millie, and Griffin convene, but tensions rise as Griffin underscores the peril Millie's presence poses. Griffin informs David of the Paladins' plan to reopen the jump scar, potentially leading them to the hideout. In the critical moment, Roland materializes, setting the stage for a clash of powers. David, tagged with an electrified cable, finds himself restrained against a wall. As the skirmish ensues, David glimpses a picture of Mary among Griffin's collection of known paladins. The electrifying struggle intensifies as Griffin deploys his teleportation prowess and Roland employs paladin technology. A fierce confrontation unfolds, with Griffin and Roland grappling for dominance. Griffin gains an advantage, thrusting Roland out of the hideout before orchestrating a high-stakes maneuver, a speeding bus hurtling toward Roland. In a moment of evasion, Roland narrowly dodges the oncoming bus, his survival testament to his cunning. Millie, discovering David pinned to the wall, endeavors to free him, unaware of the imminent threat from Roland. In a tense standoff, Griffin reappears with a flamethrower, diverting Roland's attention. The climactic battle reaches its zenith as Griffin propels Roland into the jumpscare, pursuing him into the unknown realms beyond. The battleground shifts back to Millie's apartment, where Roland and Griffin emerge, resuming their fierce altercation. Within the secure confines of the hideout, Millie successfully releases David from his confinements. However, her immediate reaction is clear. She desires to return to the comfort of her ordinary life, distancing herself from the tumultuous events unfolding around them. Faced with Millie's plea for normalcy, David reluctantly accedes, preparing to teleport her back to the familiar. Just as David readies for Millie's departure, Griffin re-enters the scene, clutching the Paladin's jumpscare opener. Despite Griffin's efforts, the lingering jumpscare empowers the Paladins to launch a cable, ensnaring Millie and forcibly retracting her to the apartment against her will. Confronted with the urgency to rescue Millie, Griffin reveals a radical plan, arming a bomb to definitively eliminate the Paladins. David questions the drastic approach, but Griffin insists on seizing the opportune moment. Proposing to teleport with the bomb, Griffin faces David's vehement objection. Tension escalates, turning the hideout into a battleground for conflicting strategies. David seizes the bomb and teleports away, initiating a high-stakes pursuit with Griffin in tow. The clash propels them through various locations: Egypt, San Francisco, New York, each teleportation accompanied by intense combat over the bomb's remote detonator. Their frenetic journey leads them to a war-torn country, where Griffin gains control of the detonator. Unbeknownst to him, a perilous pylon descends upon them. In a decisive move, David teleports Griffin directly into the path of the falling pylon, capturing him in a web of electrifying currents. Undeterred, Griffin endeavors to dissuade David, emphasizing the futility of facing 5 Paladins. Nevertheless, David remains resolute, unwavering in his determination to rescue Millie. David rushes back to the apartment, determined to rescue Millie from the Paladin's clutches. As he approaches Millie, an ominous ambush unfolds. He becomes entangled by 5 electrified cables, ruthlessly anchored by the Paladins to the apartment. Undeterred, David wrestles against the cables, desperately attempting to teleport away. The strain on his powers induces violent tremors, causing the entire apartment to shudder and crack under the intense energy. Persisting in his struggle, David's final exertion culminates in a momentous teleportation, transporting the entire apartment back to the serene lake where he first discovered his extraordinary abilities. The abrupt relocation incapacitates most of the Paladins, some succumbing to the depths of the lake. With a subsequent teleportation, David returns the apartment to its origin, the public library. In the aftermath, David regains consciousness to find Roland still among the living. Seizing this opportunity, David promptly teleports Roland and leaves him stranded in the vast expanse of the Grand Canyon. Time marches forward, and David endeavors to reconnect with his elusive mother, Mary. At Mary's residence, David is met by his half-sister, Mary's daughter. The anticipated reunion between David and Mary finally transpires. Mary unveils a startling revelation. She, too, is a Paladin. In a heart-wrenching decision made when David first exhibited his teleportation ability at the tender age of 5,